Hey, Lee. How are you doing? Yes, I was just watching this. I don't have a lot of money. We're trying to push the line all the time.
Oh, yeah, okay, now, Mike. All right, so friends, the first order of business is acknowledging the passing of our dear friend, Dr. Weissberger. And the way we do that is to have family, the next of kin, wearing a ribbon. In ancient days, when we heard about the loss of a loved one, the immediate reaction was to tear their clothing in anguish and sorrow. Unfortunately, we're a little bit more prepared these days for the inevitable. So we wear a black ribbon, and that shows others to treat you with more delicacy in the days to come, especially through the Shiva period and everything. Okay? And we're going to say a blessing. So if you're okay standing for a moment, we'll say the blessing together. I'll say it first, and then you can repeat after me. And then we'll take the two ends and give a little tear, just as Dad's lost his tear of joy. Okay? Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Dayan Amen. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, the righteous judge. You take the two ends and give it tear. That's okay. It's just enough. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yishem Adonai Baruch. The Lord is good, and the Lord is taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Okay, you may be seated. And Cantor Aronson from Temple, Israel, has come all the way back from the warm and balmy Atlantic City, where he was spending some time with family, to be here. He wanted to make sure you had that familiar face and the beautiful voice. So he's going to chant the 23rd Psalm. Thank you, Rabbi. Mizmor David, Adonai roi lo exar, bin yodeshe yar bitzeini, al me menchod yanaleini, nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, yaman chayni, v'magle tzedek, leman shemo, gam ki helech begetz al mavet, lo yirara, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפניי, לפניו שולחן, נגד צורריי, נגד צורריי, דישנת בשמן, דישנת בשמן ראשי, כבשי רוויה, Osir vaya avtov vava chesed irdefoni kol yemekayai veshavti בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. A Psalm of David, you can join in if you like. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The 90th Psalm, Tfilah Moshe Isha Elohim. O Lord, you've been our refuge from generation to generation. Before the mountains were born, before the earth was fashioned, from eternity to eternity, you are everlastingly God. But man, you crumble to dust. You say, return, O mortals. 1,000 years are in your sight as a passing day, an hour of night. You sweep men away and they sleep. Like grass, they flourish for a day. In the morning, they sprout afresh, and by nightfall, they fade and wither. In your anger, we are consumed. In your wrath, we are overcome. You set out our sins before you, our secrets before your presence. Your wrath darkens our days. Our lives expire like a sigh. 70 our years may number. 80 years when granted the strength. Laden with trouble and travail, life quickly passes and flies away. Who can know the power of your anger? Who can measure the reverence due you? Teach us, O Lord, to use all of our days that we may attain a heart of wisdom. And up until this sadness of illness in these last many weeks, Dr. Stephen Shimon Zisha Ben Tzvi and Leah used all of his days. Every single one of them may have been in front of a television set, but he used every one of those days. And he certainly had a heart of wisdom and a heart of kindness and goodness. So we've gathered to offer some words of comfort to his beautiful family, his lovely Essie of just about 50 years, and to Alan and Dana, Beth and Jeremy, Randy and Mike, Eugene and Marcy, and Sammy and Zoe and Jordan, Seth, Alexa, Dylan, Jack, Ian, Evan, and Jake, to his brother Fred and sister Myra and Charlie, and to the rest of the Ganze Mishpacha, and apparently there's Mishpacha down in the Wilkes-Barre area also. And I see the Mendelsons, the Kennewells here. So we're glad that you're surrounded, Essie, with love, people who love you and who absolutely loved your partner there for half a century. So we have some wonderful folks that are going to be sharing a couple of words of remembrance. And now that Hanukkah is over, it's traditional to do this eulogy, but I don't think we're going to need to do a eulogy the way the word actually connotes saying something nice on purpose. You know, that's what a eulogy is. It's, well, even if there's nothing nice to say, you force yourself kind of a thing. I think this is going to come very naturally. So we'll invite Alan first, and then son-in-law Mike, and then Dr. Ross, and then Steve, and then any of the grandkids that are going to share. Okay? So Alan, I invite you.
As the saying goes, all good things must come to an end, and today is one of those days. As we say goodbye and remember Steve, Stevie, Dad, Daddy, Papa, Doc, the Tooth, Charlie Pineapple, Mr. Penn State, and the countless other names that he accumulated over the years. The endless phone calls, emails, and texts over the past 2 months checking in on his condition were greatly appreciated by everyone in my family. As well, seeing everyone here today is a testament to the positive impact he had on so many people. Over the past few days, I have had time to reflect on my dad's life. So many memories and thoughts have come to mind. However, there are a few things that I would like to highlight. The word that comes to my mind the most is love. His love for his family, his job, sports, gambling, and Penn State. I was extremely fortunate to have the best dad in the world. Without a doubt, Beth, Randy, Eugene, and myself won the dad lottery. His relationship with each of us and our spouses and the grandkids was something special. I can only dream that I could live up to those standards that he set as a dad myself with Sam and Zoe. He was my best friend and someone I would talk to almost daily about anything and everything. I never knew where the conversation was going, but it always came back to the family. There was nothing more important to him than family. His love for my mom was unmatched. Their marriage was a true partnership. They cared deeply for each other, supported each other, and more importantly, would do anything for the other. They almost always started their day together with breakfast and then would go on their way while meeting up later in the day. The highlight of their day was at the end when they could sit down, have dinner, and talk about what they did in life in general. However, I always knew if they did not answer the phone at dinner time, they were out at one of their favorite restaurants, such as Perkins, Casabella, Patnado's, Bingham's, Arcangelo's, Ruth Chris, and many others. My dad did almost everything in his power to spend as much quality time with the entire family. He was happiest when we were all together. He encouraged us all to be ourselves while also being a family. Over the years, he liked to travel to New York, Boston, Pittsburgh, Penn State, Philadelphia, DC, and Chicago to visit the kids and grandkids wherever they were at and spend as much time as he could. He constantly kept tabs on everyone and loved to hear stories about the grandkids. In particular, he enjoyed talking to the younger grandkids while teasing them and having a good time. As well, he was always amused at the shenanigans and innocent trouble that the grandkids got into. However, the highlight of the year was our annual trips to Florida around Christmas time. He always loved Florida, and it was even more special when all the kids and grandkids were there and we could be together as a family. He was certainly a creature of habit and loved to stay at the same hotel, go to the same restaurants, and do the same things year after year. There was no better picture of my dad's happiness than seeing him outside in the 80, 90-degree heat, sitting by the pool in his short-sleeved dress shirt and dress pants. Oh, that was a sight and something that we all talked and laughed about. I think the only thing that we laughed about more was the size of his wallet, affectionately known as the fat wallet, and the fact that there were as many cards and papers in that wallet, not much money, that it could barely fit into his back pocket. I would venture to guess that there is not one dental practice in the world quite like the one my dad had in Taylor. He perfected the creation of the multi-purpose dental practice. For close to 55 years, my dad loved to go to work every day and see his patients. He was a fixture in Taylor. However, his office was much more different than any other dental practice. It was a place for anyone to go at any time to talk, hang out, sell or trade sporting tickets, or anything else for that matter, discuss life, and maybe even get your teeth fixed or cleaned. You never knew who would be at that office, but there was always just as many patients as visitors. However, if you were a patient, you were a friend for life. The one consistent presence in his office was Paula. Paula was the gatekeeper who tried to maintain some sort of semblance over the office. For the most part, she was successful. However, it was almost impossible to keep my dad in check, as he always was looking to tell a joke or pull a good prank on someone. One of my dad's oldest friends, Trevor Carpenter, aptly named the office the clubhouse. Paula, I cannot thank you enough for everything that you did for my dad in the practice over the years. One of the most important lessons I learned from my dad and his job was giving back to the community and looking out for those less fortunate. One of my earliest memories of spending time with my dad was on Sunday mornings. He would volunteer at the Jewish Federation Free Dental Clinic with some of his fellow dentists. I love this because I was able to spend time with my dad, but also allowed me time to have fun and play basketball at the JCC next door while he was doing his volunteer work. Throughout my life, sports played a crucial part in our relationship. Growing up, he was either taking me to one of my games or sporting events or coaching one of my teams. He offered constant encouragement to me with everything that I did and was not afraid to give me some advice on how to be better. This continued with his grandchildren when he always made it a point to visit his grandchildren and attend their games when he was in town. As we both got older, sporting events became a special part of our relationship. Growing up in Clark Summit, there were no professional teams. However, we always managed to go to the local high school football and basketball games. One of those highlights was when Scranton High played Lower Merion in basketball in Allentown. We witnessed this young high school sensation, Kobe Bryant, completely dominate the game. After the game, my dad was talking to Kobe's dad, and the discussion led to whether Kobe should go to college or go right to the NBA. My dad tried to convince Kobe's dad that going to college was the right path for him. We often laughed about this conversation, and my dad acknowledged that he was wrong and Kobe made the right choice to go directly to the NBA. However, local sports were just not part of his sports calendar. He loved to travel far and wide to catch a sporting event. Penn State football games were definitely his favorite, but there were many other regular events that he looked forward to. The highlight of the sports year was a weekend in New York City for the Big East basketball tournament with his friends Steve Fuesco, George Cerniak, and Alan Jones. I lost count, but he probably went to 35 or more of those tournaments over the years. Every year we would go to Philadelphia to see his favorite team, the Pirates, play my favorite team, the Phillies, in a doubleheader when they used to actually play doubleheaders back-to-back. And there was always a stop at his favorite cheesesteak stop, D'Alessandro's, on the way home or before. On one trip, I almost gave him a heart attack when I disappeared between games and went down to the Phillies dugout to try to meet some of the players. I was successful and got Mike Schmidt's autograph. When I came back to my seats, he was upset that I took off without his permission, and he had no idea where I went. His frustration lasted about 5 minutes when he saw how happy I was to have gotten the autograph. On a side note, that was all for naught, as my mom accidentally threw out the autograph a few days later. When I think back on our travels, some of the best moments were spending time with Stevie going to sporting events. We had the opportunity to attend the World Series, Super Bowl, Final Four, and countless football regular season and Penn State bowl games, including a Rose Bowl, a Big Ten championship game, and a National Championship Fiesta Bowl game against Miami in 1986. I will never forget any of those trips and the memories that we made. It is not possible to talk about my dad without discussing his love for gambling. I am convinced that there was not a form of gambling that he did not like. He did not bet a lot of money, but he truly enjoyed the thrill of winning and gambling. For as long as I can remember, Stevie loved to bet on games. He always had the bookie on standby. He constantly called me and asked me who I thought was going to win such and such game. Most of the time I didn't know and didn't have a good answer. However, this came full circle about 6 months ago when my son Sam asked me if I could put a bet on a game for him. The first time he had ever asked that. He convinced me that the Phoenix Suns were going to lose that night because he saw that Chris Paul never won a playoff game with a certain officiating crew, and they were working that game that night. I told him to call Papa, and he would be able to place the bet for him. Needless to say, Stevie and Sam bet on that game, and they won. They will be forever 1-0 as gambling partners. Casinos were my dad's favorite gambling spot. Blackjack was his favorite, and he loved to go to Atlantic City and Las Vegas whenever he could. In recent years, the need to go to Atlantic City and Vegas shrank, as he could easily go to Pocono Downs or any of the countless other casinos that popped up on his travels. Other than his family and maybe work, there was nothing more important than Penn State. He bled blue and white, and a Penn State hat was the most important piece of his wardrobe. Penn State played a critical role in his life. Some of the best memories of my dad are connected to Penn State. Ever since he got out of the Air Force in the late 60s, every fall weekend was spent either at Penn State or at an away game or watching the Penn State game on television in our house or wherever he was at. There were few places that he would rather be than watching Penn State football. He loved going to State College for a home game. Tailgating was one of his favorite pastimes. When I was really young, my dad and all his friends would tailgate every weekend in the same parking lot. There would be hundreds of friends and family having a good time. Everyone was invited, and there was no shortage of food or alcohol. The same parking lot attendant saved the whole entire lot for the weekly crew, and they bribed him with corned beef sandwiches. Over the years, the tailgates moved to different locations, but it was all about friends getting together and having a good time. My dad also loved to go to away games and picked a few spots every year. The highlights usually involved a trip to Ohio State or Michigan. His favorite trip was to Chicago with my mom, Dr. Ross, and Donna Ross to see Penn State play Notre Dame, Northwestern, or Illinois. However, for close to 20 years, the highlight of our year was our family trips to the Penn State bowl games. We all look forward to a new destination, spending time as a family and with some of my dad's Penn State friends. There was always a group of families that went on these trips. These trips were epic, memorable, and we all look forward to the next one. Other than Penn State sports, one of my dad's legacies was the creation of the Penn State Scranton Club. The Penn State Club allowed him an opportunity to make lifelong friends and help build the Penn State community in this area. The annual dinner was an opportunity to connect the local Penn State community and bring Penn State coaches, players, and other administrators to the area. He enjoyed meeting and getting to know them all very well. The one thing that he was most proud of was the fact the club was able to raise money and provide scholarship support to local students attending the local Penn State Scranton campus or University Park. When I think of my dad, so many great memories of Penn State. One of his favorite sayings are, "We are." In his honor, I would like to end with one chant. We are. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Good. I'm going to listen to Mike. Share some words.
Good afternoon. So for those who I haven't met before, Michael Kivov. I am Randy's husband, and we have 3 of Steve and Essie's grandkids. Dylan, who's 8, Jack, who's 6, and Ian, who's 4 and is not so good at sitting still very long, so he's not here. It's kind of humbling to be in front of so many people who've known Steve that much longer than I have. But that being the case, one of the wonderful things about Steve is that you didn't really have to know him very long or very well to have great memories with him. I think that was one of his great characteristics, is he was good at making wonderful moments and wonderful memories for the people around him. I want to share a few of those that our family will certainly remember, hopefully bring a little bit of a smile to folks' faces. Before I do that, I do want to start with thanks. Thank you, Steve, for everything. I think everyone knows what a big heart Steve had. It wasn't a thing he wouldn't have done, probably didn't do, for our family. If we had asked, it would have happened. So thank you, Steve. He always treated me like a son, right from the get-go. For those who don't know, I actually lost my dad earlier this year too. Part of what got me through that was feeling that I still kind of had another dad out there with Steve. Ready to turn the page on 2022. I don't know about anyone else, but enough about that. I'll share some of the fonder memories. Certainly Thanksgiving football games. Al, you stole a lot of my script here, but I'll do what I can. That started for me, I won't lie. That was an escape to get out of the house. We had like 20 people in the house over Thanksgiving. More kids than I can count. It's crazy. Steve says, "You want to go to the Penn State football game?" "Yeah, Steve, sign me up. Let's go." "We leave now?" "Oh, tomorrow?" "Okay, great." But you know what? Over the years, it was a lot of fun. Man, I really came to enjoy those and cherish those games. I'll always remember that. There was also the Big East tournament, which Al had mentioned, going up to New York City. Steve, Alan, the pilot, catching you guys in New York, Carmine's, Peter Luger's. Who would miss that? Who wouldn't want to miss that, right? Never forget that. One of my fondest ones actually was not that long ago, believe it or not, less than 18 months ago. After a lot of talk, finally went to Fenway Park with Steve. Saw a Red Sox-Yankees game. I don't know if Dylan and Jack will remember this. Dylan, you should. Dylan said, "This is the worst game ever. It's the most boring game ever," and he wanted to leave. You know what? He was right. It's 4-0 Yankees in the 8th inning. Red Sox didn't have a single hit. It was a terrible game. Steve and I talked about it. I said, "We're going to stay. We're going to stay." 2 reasons. One is selfishly, we kind of thought, well, maybe we'll see a no-hitter. I mean, never sat through one of those before. The other was, let's teach our kids the right way. You don't leave early. You stay. You root for your team. You never know. Things happen, right? What happened? Verdugo hit one off the wall. Next thing you knew, 5-4 Red Sox. Game over. That lesson we wanted to teach the kids worked out pretty well, huh? You know what? It's better to be lucky than good sometimes. What can you say? A few memories from Randy, my wife, and there were so many. We tried to just pick a few, but one is Dad staying up late, probably watching sports, but either way, staying up late, waiting, being there. If Randy came home late, he was there to make sure she came home okay, or he was there to be a ride if she needed it. I know Randy won't forget that. And if he was sitting downstairs, he was probably sitting right on top of the radiator, because we know Essie keeps the house way too cold. Steve sits on the radiator. I don't know if you've ever seen it. He's like right on top of it. My wife takes after you, Steve. I think you know that. She'd prefer the heat turned up in the house. And the almost daily phone calls, always wanting to know what was going on with us. Not his stories, not what was bothering him. How are the kids doing? What are they up to? How's Dylan's tennis? How's Jack's baseball? Asking how their jump shots were, which I'm like 5'5". Why is Steve asking how my kids' jump shots are? But you know what? It was wonderful. It was wonderful. On behalf of our kids, a few memories I hope you guys always take with you. Papa's Flakes, named after the man, right? Can't get any better than that. How about Papa calling up or being there with you guys and doing the ABCs? Doing them all wrong, just on purpose to see if you'd catch them. A, B, C, E, right? I like that one so much I started doing it too. He already got me on the Miami and New Year's, right? I never seen the man wear shorts in his entire life. I'm sure in theory he did. Multiplication with Papa, right, Jack? But he didn't ask you hard enough questions. Paul is here. Paula, do you know you were one of the favorite games? Hey guys, how old's Paula? Don't say it. Don't say it. One of the favorite games. And yeah, teaching our kids how to play blackjack. Never really got them with betting lines, you know, but blackjack they learned from Papa, not from me. So I know there's a lot of people that have some things to say, but I want to end with this. Something unfortunately this year I've spent a lot of time thinking about is legacy. And when we leave, what do we leave behind? We're not also fortunate to have multinational corporations or buildings or stadiums or whatever it might be named after us. For a lot of us, that legacy is the people that we leave behind, that we touched on our way. Friends, family, of course. Steve, let me tell you this. You've got quite the legacy. I know you're proud, and you should be. You should be. So, Steve, I love you, and be good.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're going to hear from Dr. Ross.
Boys, that was beautiful, Alan. Like, he just did a really, really good job. And it's hard to talk after a lawyer, that's for sure. But Stephen Weissberger, Stephen, known as Crown. Stephen is the crown. He's the king. He's the prince. And he was that way to me and my wife and to everybody who associated with him. Weissberger, Weiss, bright, the bright light, the wise one to be followed. Stephen Weissberger. You all heard of four-star generals. Well, sorry, Stephen was four-star. He was a four-star husband. He and Essie had a tremendous, tremendous life together. They loved each other dearly. Not mushy. True love. True love. You know, Alice to the moon, Alice. That was very similar to what was going on. But behind that was just true love. He was a four-star father. And look at his products. Alan, a wonderful attorney and a great father. Alan, you gave a good talk. I really appreciated that about your dad. Beth, a physician. Not only that, but she's in the toughest of all areas, anesthesiology. She controls the patient's life in her hands, and she's great at her work, and we appreciate that, and a great mother. Randy, dietitian, great in her field, what a good honor and a good mother. Eugene, my baby Eugene. Eugene is our financial counselor. If you have financial problems, Alan, Randy, and Beth will call Eugene. Grandfather, he had 10 beautiful grandchildren. He loved them all. And, you know, I'm a pediatrician. Sometimes I get tired of hearing about kids. But with Steve, I heard it all. Every day he told me how great his grandchildren were. And every day I agreed with him. Dentistry, he was a 4-star dentist. DDS, Doctor of Dental Surgery, Doctor of Dental Superiority. He was superior. He was gentle, caring, generous, and very sociable. Patients were like his family and vice versa. He never turned anybody away. You heard of the art of medicine. Well, he actually practiced the art of dentistry, a true art. Sportsman, wow, that's already been covered, but especially his Penn State. He loved them very much. Even though I told him if the University of Scranton had a football team, we could beat Penn State. But he never believed me. Where is he now? He's in heaven for sure. Just imagine heaven. There's stadiums, ballparks, arenas all over the place. He's having a ball. And guess what? He has no losers. Everybody wins in heaven. I'm sure that God has given him some good odds for betting, but I'm sure that Steve has got along with that. He's been such a good, true friend. Donna, my wife, and I will miss him sincerely and miss all of our beautiful trips. Essie, if you need me at all, please call. The same with children. If you need my help as a pediatrician and also as a friend and somebody who loves you. Stephen, give God a good tip for us all. Talk to God for us. Tell him we are just earthlings, pretty good, but we could certainly be better. Steve, we need your help in heaven as well as you helped us on earth. Certainly, God bless you, Stephen, and he certainly believed in the 10 Commandments, the greatest of which was love, L-O-V-E. We should love each other forever and ever. God bless. I'm going to miss you, Stephen. Thank you.
And we'll hear from Stephen's great friend, Steve Weissberger.
I would just like to add to Dr. Ross's comments, the presentations by Alan and everyone else, just outstanding and true to life. My remarks will try to summarize. By the way, I only have 6 pages, but they're double spaced. My remarks will try to summarize my relation to an icon and friend, and will touch on 5 areas. Number 1, my early association with Doc. 2, family, which has been touched many times today. Profession, Penn State, and being a friend. Before I start, I would like you to, in your own silent way, offer a prayer and try to reflect on your own experiences on the topics that I have previously mentioned. We'll pause for a few seconds. My first encounter was with Doc in the early or late 70s with Penn State tickets, lunches, and a meeting with his family. His mother always wanted to know, do I want to speak to the doctor or the ticket agent? We became social friends, trips to Penn State, Thursday night trips to Old Forge, Ravello's, Gigerelli's, Arcaro's, and many other places, as Alan has mentioned. Meeting with his bowling team and friends. I have personal experiences. I'm not going to get into too many of these because I don't want to get into too long of a speech, but there are so many that we just can't go into. His family. Religion was always important to Essie, Doc, and their children. He provided, nourished, and guided his children through early childhood, high school, and college, watching them grow into adulthood. He was proud of all their accomplishments and hard work. He enjoyed Beth at the University of Pennsylvania and Alan, Randy, and Eugene at Penn State. His grandchildren were loved and adored by him. As Mike said, he was constantly teaching, playing, and teaching them with numbers, games, ABCs, questions, and different languages. He enjoyed vacationing with his family, both summer and winter. There are many memories and stories, both serious and humorous, that his family will remember. His profession. Practiced dentistry for 54 years. He was respected by his colleagues and was on many boards, and always willing to help patients, rich or poor, and many times doing charity work. He was always on call for his patients at all hours and on any day that you needed him. He was guided by his dental assistant, Paula, secretary and telephone operator, and handyman Joe Wasco, who he took his 401k away from him because he didn't clean the sidewalks. Penn State academics. Having 4 college graduates, he always was interested in student success. He started to help people get into Penn State and encourage them to follow their dreams and goals. He encouraged students who were experiencing some difficulty to try harder, not to give up. He was past president of the Penn State Club and worked tirelessly for the success of the club. He was always looking for scholarships for students and played a vital role in helping many students. Football. We would need volumes to speak about his experience with the football program. Doc was the original ticket master or ticketron. He was always involved with buying and selling tickets for many years. He even told a scalper to move to the other side of the street in Baltimore because this was his side of the street today. He was always interested in tailgating with Belle and Jake, Dr. Danae and Tony, Jack Zimmerl and his friends. He enjoyed bringing Essie's famous cheesecake to the tailgates, right up to the end, and making sure that Jack had kosher hot dogs. Doc enjoyed the football games on sunny days, cold days, and as long as he was in the stadium. He attended many bowl games and had many good experiences. Just going to speak a little about the two experiences in Michigan a few years ago. As we entered Ann Arbor, it was Doc's idea. We didn't have any tickets. So let's buy some tickets early and we don't have to worry about purchasing tickets later. So George stops the car and Doc does his business. He buys the tickets. We're so happy. We have tickets. We don't have to worry about anything. We can go and enjoy ourselves. If anyone needs a ticket for the next Michigan State game, fake tickets. $125, no refunds or exchanges. Doc had the other tickets. Also, another experience, which I spoke to Eugene before, he has an experience. They had a program for $154. How did this happen? They were at New York, Madison Square Garden, going to see Duke. What happened was they bought 3 tickets, one for Essie, one for Eugene, and one for Doc. What happened was they also bought a program for $4. But when they went into the game, the tickets were fake. And Eugene said, Dad, we have a $154 program, which was fantastic. And by the way, Mike, your steak from Peter Luger's is still in the bushes where you left it before we went into the garden. Second experience at Michigan, that same trip, we were having dinner at a fine restaurant, and all of a sudden, a frantic waitress comes to the table. And she says, we know you're a doctor because we heard you speaking Doc, and we know you're a doctor. There is a lady in the other side of the room going into labor, and we need a doctor to deliver this baby. Frantically, he pushes his chair back, puts up his hands, and says, I'm a doctor, but I'm a dentist. I don't deliver babies. Lord and behold, who was behind the wall? Jack Zimmerl, who gave the waitress a nice tip to go over and ask Doc to come and deliver the baby. And he's standing there laughing with the words, gotcha. If Doc wasn't at a game, the question was, where is Doc? Friend. Doc was like a brother that I didn't have. We took many football trips, basketball trips, Big East, Eastern Regional, and many good times and even better stories to tell. He was always helpful, respectful, honest, sincere, generous, thoughtful, amusing, and many more adjectives to describe his personality. Doc will be greatly missed by me, my family, and many other people in this room. I will miss his late night calls, usually between 11 and 12 p.m. with the famous saying, oh, he would fall asleep, I guess, sometimes. And his first word, what time is it? Well, it's midnight. Well, his famous words, what's up? I will close with the Hebrew word for skies, and I may mispronounce this word, Shemayim, which refers to heaven. I know Doc will be looking down on all of us and trying to catch the Rose Bowl game. Great friend, thank you for inviting me.
So we're going to hear from grandchildren. Let's have you all come up. Oh. I want us to be able to see you, so stand in front, because then the microphone in the back will be able to hear you too, okay? But talk right into this, I think. It's kind of on again, off again. Right up to your mouth.
On behalf of the grandchildren, we'd like to talk about our beloved Papa. He is an incredibly caring, loving, respected person. We'd like to share a couple of memories we have of our grandfather.
The first memory of ours is from Jordan and I's annual Man and Pop camp. One night we went to the mini golf and arcade at Leahy. At Leahy, I played an arcade game where I ended up breaking the game and tickets started spinning out rapidly for what seemed like hours on end. As such caring and giving person Papa was, he gave some of the tickets we won to a little kid that was intrigued by the tickets that were spinning out. He told us we should always share what we have. We will always remember this trip to Leahy.
Beautiful.
We will never forget when he would shout across the room, "Where's the OJ?" or how he would always tease me about taking his hat.
Another memory we have of Papa is how he would always wear his work clothes everywhere he went, which include the button-down shirt with a checkered pattern and nice pants regardless of the weather. Even if it was negative 100 degrees or 100 degrees, he would still be in his work clothes.
He was a great and amazing person who never let us down. He will forever be missed.
Beautiful. That was great, guys. Wow. So we close with a few words about our dear Shimon Zisha, Ben Tzvi, and Leah. And the one thing that comes to mind is, being a dentist, he dealt with teeth. What is the Hebrew word for teeth, for tooth? Shinayim. Who said shinayim? Good for you. All right, very good. So a tooth is a shame. Shinayim are teeth. And in perhaps the most important prayer in the Siddur, in the prayer book, is Shema Yisrael. And the V'ahavta, and we've all learned it in those of us who went to religious school and everything. And each time he went that Steve went to Minyan for Yortzeit, and it's a large family, a big mishpacha, so he didn't miss Yortzeits. He didn't bring a TV with him, did he, Tanner? No, okay. But he was there in services to offer the memorial prayer for family members, and that's something I hope his family's going to keep on. But the word in the V'ahavta You shall teach these words of Torah diligently to your children and to their children and to their children. And the Hebrew word is vishinantam livanecha. You shall teach them diligently to your children. What's the connection between teaching and teeth? So it probably has to do with grind it into them. Make sure they learn the lesson. Well, we've heard a lot about how Doc was a teacher to his children and his grandchildren. And our job's going to be to pass that on to our great-grandchildren and beyond, okay? There's a section in the Talmud that says when our time comes to leave this world and enter through the gates of Shamayim, Steve, where's Steve? Steve, you got it right. Shamayim, perfect, okay? The gates of Shamayim, Sharei Shamayim. When our time comes to enter those gates, there are only 3 aspects of our life that can testify on our behalf for how good a neshama, how good a person we were, okay? And one of them is Torato Me'ido, his Torah, his religion. One of them is Mishpachto Me'ido, his family. And then the third one is Parnasato Me'ido, his business, his job, okay? So in Doc's case, when it comes to mishpacha, when it comes to family testifying on his behalf, we heard it. We heard it today so beautifully from his family. This is who he was, someone who loved his family, loved his wife, loved his children, loved his grandchildren. And it was so important to him. Essie for 50 years, and his children who were literally by his side during these difficult weeks. He was not alone. His kids were there for him, just as he was there for them throughout life. His parnasa, his job also provides lots of testimony. He was a great dentist. How many of you are patients of Doc that are here? I mean, that's pretty powerful. That's really a testament. It really is. So he was beloved by them, and they were all special to him. And he didn't want to retire because he loved talking with them. He loved schmoozing. Dentists have a special relationship anyway, because they get to talk and the patients get to grunt, and somehow the dentist understands what they're saying. I mean, that's really pretty cool. And I just keep thinking when I realized that you're what medicine? What do you do? Anesthesiology, right? Yeah. Who does that? Oh, you do, right? Okay. That's what my kids call me when people come to the synagogue for a sermon. That I'm the anesthesiologist. So we have that together. But as for Torah, as for that third aspect, the religion, he was always in shul for yard sites, and that was important to him. But it's not as if he was up davening and leading the services and doing that at home and always pulling out a prayer book or any of that. That's what he did religiously was football, right? And in many ways it became part of a religion. It was part of his spirit. It was, and he was highly spirited about it. So I think if the Talmud could just change that slightly to football being the one who testifies that this man deserves to get into Sharei Shamayim and through those gates of heaven, it's definitely going to be football that does it. His entire life was a blessing. We heard it here firsthand today. And our job is going to be to continue to share it, to share that beautiful life, that good neshama, that good soul, with everyone that we come in contact with. Don't hesitate to talk about him. Let everyone know about Doc. And you guys, Sammy, Zoe, Jordan, Seth, Alexa, Dylan, Jack, tell Ian and Evan and Jake also. It's your job to talk about your grandfather. Because what did you call him? Poppy? Papa, okay? You got to let your friends know when you're in school. Doesn't matter where you are. Just say, hey, my grandpa, my poppy is no longer here on earth. He's up in heaven. He's in Shamayim watching over all of us. And you got to be as good as he was. And you got to make sure you brush and floss. The mysteries of life and death are beyond our understanding, and we're perplexed and overwhelmed in pain and anguish before those whom we love. In sorrow, confronted by death, it's taken Stephen Weissberger from our midst, Shimon Zitsha, Ben Tzvi, and Leah. We feel our own frailty. Like delicate flowers, we flourish only for a day. Eternal God, Shepherd of Israel, guide us, your flock, with love and with compassion. Grant solace and comfort to those who mourn. May their lives together help to sustain them and add to the blessing which is theirs in the life of their beloved Doc, beloved Steve. In the valley of the shadow of death, beside the still waters and in the green pastures, you, O Lord, are our shepherd. Be our strength and our shield, our stay and our comfort throughout all our days. And let us say, Amen. We're going to rise now as Cantor Aronson chants the memorial prayer.
والمول رقميم شوغين بامرميم همسه من غنى غنى تاقت كابان في وشكينا بمالات كدواشم ودهورم كزوغن كراكيا ماسكريم את ישמע שמעון זישה בן צבי וליה שגלה ובגלולמה בגן עדן תהי מלכתו ענב ובנרגמים וזרגו בסדר גנפיך לעולמים וצרור בזרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני ונחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן.
God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the soul of Stephen Weissberger, Shimon Zisha, Ben Tzvi, and Leah, who has gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you to remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. The Lord is his portion. May he rest in peace. And we say, Amen.
Now we'd ask the pallbearers, please. Alan, Eugene, Mike, Jeremy, Charlie, Gary, Scott, and Chris to remain in the stateroom. Everyone else who's joining the funeral procession to Dalton Cemetery, please go to your cars now and have your lights and four-way flashers on. Thank you.